Hello and welcome to Your Band Sucks at Business, a podcast for bands trying to navigate the music industry. My name is Malcolm Owenflood. I am here with my redheaded stepchild co-host, Marcus Manhas.
What's up, guys? I'm redheaded, but I'm not his stepchild, just for the record. He's probably more my stepchild, but anyway.
I'm the old man of the band. You know that. Yeah, welcome back. This is episode number 2. I guess really our first real episode. The first one was a teaser, but it is number 2 on our sheet here, so that's what we're calling it. And we are diving into networking and how it kind of is all who you know. We're going to talk about why it's not just all who you know, but there's a lot of truth to that saying, and we've got some cool stories lined up about how networking has really been probably the main pillar of change in our band's career and our personal careers as well.
Yeah, it's really for us anyway. Yeah, it's been the one consistently, I guess, successful thing that we've done.
Yeah,
and a lot of times unknowingly too, right? Like a lot of the network we've done has not been us going out and being we're at an event and here's our business card, we're networking with you. It's been very natural. But there are actionable steps that you can take to make it happen, and so...
Yeah, it's kind of like a looking back, we were networking, but we didn't realize it at the time necessarily.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, maybe later on there were times where we're like, oh yeah, we actually have to make sure we talk to this person. That would be wise. But
yeah. When you're going to Canadian Music Week or any South by, whatever you're doing, yeah, of course you're going to have people that you want to talk to, but in your everyday, your everyday life, there's so much of it. Yeah, looking back, like you said, looking back at it, there's so much stuff that we did that was networking when we didn't even really realize it. So, and that's the stuff I feel that's really served us moving forward. Those are the most important connections or things that we did. Yeah, it was the daily stuff. So.
We possibly got a little lucky, but
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely. The connections we made paid off and made all of our... Actually, that's a good point. You and I used to set goals, pretty big goals. Be we just want this to happen. And then all of a sudden it would happen. And it was kind of willed into existence.
We were manifesting it before even really knowing that. Maybe we should probably provide a little context here before we really start going, talking about goals. But
so Marcus and I are in the band called Band of Rascals. We're a rock band from Canada. We started, I think, in 2014 or late 2013, something around there. And things went pretty quickly for us, at least a lot quicker and further than we thought they would when we started the band. When we started the band, I think my message literally said I wanted to start a little side project with Marcus, just nothing serious or something like that.
I'm gonna find that message, and in the next one we'll read the actual message, because I found it a year ago and it was hilarious. It's good. It's a good message, but it's funny to imagine 5 years later, 6 years later.
Well, the reason it's funny is because it was so far incorrect. It became our sole purpose for 5 years.
That's all we did.
The Band of Rascals was our life. We just ended up on the road, touring a shitload, doing some amazingly crazy shows, playing for thousands and thousands of people, and our music getting heard and listened to by, I guess, I don't even know how many people, but a lot of people. It went pretty well, for sure. We had some luck on Canadian radio as well. Went over to Europe and did a tour. It was awesome. Definitely not the biggest band in the world, but we were a business, and that business was making money. And we were getting to play music, I guess, for a living in a way.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty poor, but you know what? It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, but maybe if people had, or if we had a podcast like this, we wouldn't have been so poor.
It's true. Well, I mean, at the end though, I don't want to say the end, but the last year, it definitely picked up and we started doing well.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
It was good.
I mean, the revenue was kind of amazing when you looked at it. It was just that we also spent money like a rock band.
Yeah. Recording an album.
Yeah. Oh, you'll hear all about that for sure. But anyways, this one's about the networking part of it and how networking just leveled our band up like kind of month after month, year after year, we just kept taking it a step further, and how that kind of corresponded with our goals. So really, like all bands, we started playing shows and getting people out. And then I think like the big level up for us was we did some gigs with a guy named Jesse Roper, who is a big deal around here in our scene, and he seems to be killing it in quite a few places now. But
for sure. Across Canada, he's definitely in Ontario. He's doing well for sure.
Yeah. By the way, wait till you hear his new music, guys. It's so fucking good. So he was kind of like, he was the band that was a level above us. We were like able to bring out, I don't know, 100 people or something, and he could bring out 300, or I think maybe those numbers aren't right, but with the two of us, we were definitely packing a room. So he was kind of where we wanted to be. So we managed to get an opening spot with him, and that led to us getting another opening spot for him again. And then eventually, I think I convinced him to come down and do a jam with us, just like for fun. So he came down to our jam space, which, by the way, was like a 2,000 square foot warehouse with a half pipe in it for skateboarding.
Dude, I think it was bigger than, or was it two? Maybe you're right. I thought it was big. Anyway,
it was huge.
This place was massive. It was like a big garage, like a car garage without the lifts. Like it was colossal.
It was too big. Like it was so big that it just sounded fucking awful. But he came down for a jam, and we jammed, and we had a good time. And I think he decided through that I didn't suck at guitar.
I don't know how. Yeah. I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah. We'll never know. But fast forward to the next festival circuit, and things have taken off pretty good for him. And he has got an opening spot, not an opening spot, just a spot at this. A spot at a festival called Rock the Shores.
Which at the time, remember that? Like when we heard that he got that slot, like Rock the Shores, the first year was Tragically Hip.
Yeah,
right?
Tragically Hip. I think Sam Roberts was there.
City in Color, maybe? I can't remember exactly the lineup, but it was like big. It was one of the biggest festivals that had ever come to the island.
Yeah, totally. So it was a big deal that a local guy was playing it. So Jesse got the gig, and he phoned me up and he's like, "Hey, I got Rock the Shores." And I'm like, "Holy fuck, dude, that's insane. Like you made it." And then he's like, how do you feel about coming to play a couple songs with me at it? I was like, "Oh, fuck yeah. I'm totally there." No doubt. So that's how it happened. But now when you break it down, we realized that, okay, we did a show with Roper, got to know him a little bit, did a jam with him where I guess he thought I was okay at guitar. And then that got me on stage in front of like 5,000 people playing with his band. And then that went on to me being in his band for the whole summer and doing a bunch of festivals. We did Sunfest, we did Burnaby Blues, so some really big ass shows. Like the Sunfest one was like fucking 10,000 people or something, just going crazy.
Yeah, with the big runway.
Yeah.
The wireless guitar fill runway.
Yeah. There was some good moments and bad moments, but like just the craziest summer I could have ever imagined happening in my life. Went from playing for like 100 people to thousands of people just in the blink of an eye. And it was all because we got to know Roper. But like that was just the beginning, because Band of Rascals still exists, Marcus and I's band. And when we started doing these gigs with Roper, I got to know his management team, which was a couple guys named Steven and Morgan, who we love dearly. I'm sure they'll end up on this podcast eventually. Like, without a doubt. Sure. We're pretty close with those guys. And so they were Jesse's manager, and we got to know them. Marcus, you started coming out to some of the shows with us and got to know them as well.
Yeah, because I was helping Jesse's drummer Steve out with drum teching because the shows they got to the level where it was like you needed like a drum tech. You need someone who can set your stuff up. And so I was teching for him. And so, I was hanging with the band and Stephen and Morgan and stuff and getting to know them.
Yeah. And we got to know these managers, and next thing you know, we're doing a show and they show up to see us play. It was the Zone Band of the Month showcase, which was like this radio station in town. And they showed up, and then like right after we played, they're like, "How do you feel about us taking you on and managing you guys?" And we were like, "Holy shit. Okay. Yeah, let's do that." Cause we could look at Jesse Roper's career and be like, okay, pre-management, he's playing the bars with us. Post-management, he's playing festivals for thousands of people. Okay, that seems like a good move. And we kind of imagined, okay, well, if we manage to get managers, and that, by the way, was one of our goals that we made, was like, okay, we've got to find a manager. We figured, okay, well, yeah, if we sign up with them, we might be able to level up into the festival market with our own band. And I guess that's exactly what happened. They they delivered on that, I guess.
Pretty much. It's soon. Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty quick after, because that was in November of 2015.
I thought it was 2016, but you're better at this than I am.
No, I don't actually know. So maybe it is 2016. I think it was 2015. But then it was like pretty much right away. All of a sudden, like, remember, I'm trying to think back now, but I remember Steven was like, okay, you guys got to get a business number, a GST number. You need to have a partnership agreement. You need to do all this stuff. It was like, okay, we've been a band for a couple of years without doing any of this stuff, albeit small. You know, we weren't doing like massive revenue or anything at that point, but it was like, oh, okay, this is how you're supposed to do it. And if you do all this stuff, all of a sudden you're going to get shows and you're going to, like, stuff is going to start happening, you know, like it's, the level up was crazy. It like 10x our career basically
in a matter of months,
you know,
like,
yeah. And 10xing from something small, you know, like we had really been struggling. And I remember at that point, even we were kind of like, oh man, this is a lot of work. Like we would spend countless hours writing, like, yeah, like grant, like it was crazy. We'd just do grant applications that were awful because we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah. Yeah, they were fucking terrible.
We should try to find some of those. They're like, it'd be like, like you need a marketing plan. And so we would write a paragraph in a Word document.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what the hell were we thinking? Like, we should release it as like a course on how to not do it.
Oh, man. But at the same time, like when you don't know the level, like we didn't know what you were. And then when I remember the first one that Blue Heron did, so Stephen and Morgan did for us. Stephen and Morgan's company, it's called Blue Heron Music, by the way.
Our managers.
But anyway, I remember seeing the first one they did was like a 12-page document with graphics and it looked beautiful. Like it was like a annual report basically.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, so we didn't do that right. Anyway.
Yeah, totally. We did not do that right. And yeah, they really took us to the next level. And I think it's important to stress here that people like this, they don't make things happen for you. They amplify what you've got going on.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have music or like an image or like the ability to talk to people, they don't make that appear for you. They just amplify what you've got going on. So they were able to take our music and show it to people, for example, you know, and take our business and present it as like, so we wanted to get onto festivals. And how do we get onto festivals? They prove that our business, our band, aka, had an audience. So if they put us on a festival, we would be bringing paying customers to their festival, right? That is why your bands get booked, is because it results in ticket sales, right? Which results in beer sales, kind of thing. So it's revenue. And we had a little bit of a thing going on, although small, but it was worth something if presented correctly. And then from there, we just had to focus on growing it. And that's what we did. So you can't skip the steps. It's not like you can just go get a manager if you don't have any recorded music or your songs suck, you know?
That's one thing that we have to make sure is clear, is like we slugged it out for years. Like we did a cross Canada tour for 2 months before any of this happened. 2 months. And Stephen and Morgan were at we went to Canadian Music Week in Toronto from the west coast of Canada. So we did that trip. It took us 2 months total. It was fun. We chilled.
Kind of
it was a good time. Yeah, we hung out. It was a really good time. But so I distinctly remember hanging with Stephen and Morgan at that, because Jesse was also playing that year, remember? And I remember hanging with Stephen and Morgan, and they didn't really they were cool, but they didn't really care too much about us.
I don't think they even came to our show.
They didn't. No, they didn't. And I remember Jesse saying, "Oh yeah, you know, they're pretty tapped out right now. You know, they've got quite a few bands on the roster, and you know, they're not really looking for anyone else at that point." So yeah, we grinded it out for a long time before we ever got to the point where someone would look at us.
Yeah, you don't choose the manager, I don't think, ever, unless you are killing it, you're making crazy money off Spotify or something on your own, then yeah, people are going to be interested. But most bands coming up, you've got to build something that's worth them coming on as a team, for sure, because people are making a living doing this stuff. So if they can't make a living working with you, why would they do it? Nobody's got time to spare.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not going to just take a chance.
No,
that's not true, but they're not going to just like see like a little tiny bit of success, like a very tiny bit of success and be like, yeah, I can work with that.
Totally.
Like it takes so much more than that. There's just so many facets to the.
I think the next episode we want to do is about managers, so we won't get too far into that anymore.
Yeah.
But
sure.
Suffice to know, it's not just, you don't go choose one. So we'll talk about more of that next week. Now, that wasn't kind of the end of the networking level up effect, though. The next thing we did was, oh, by the way, you have to release music constantly. And we had it. We were like, we got a manager, but we haven't released music in 2 years or something crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer.
It had been probably something like that, 1.5 years at least, coming up on 2 years. Yeah.
So they set us straight on that. They're like, okay, what are the new songs? And we're like, oh, we should write some new songs. And we did. And this is where the networking thing really starts to double down, because now we've built a team and our network isn't just who we know, it's also who they know. So I remember they asked us to put together a list of producers we wanted to work with. And we did. And I think most of them lived in Vancouver probably. And then I think you were like, should we just throw down a Hail Mary for this guy named Eric Ratz?
Yeah, because we had been listening to a band called Monster Truck, and Eric's such a well-known dude anyway. He was the dude.
Eric, for people who don't know, has done the Arkells, Billy Talent, Monster Truck.
He's got a Latin Grammy for Enrique Iglesias.
Yeah. We'll get him talking about that if we get him on here. Big Wreck, he's done some really, really big, successful stuff. That's just, and his stuff's just killer, and we loved it. It was right what we were looking for, but he was just way above us, like a Grammy winner.
Yeah, that was and multiple Juno winner too. But that's the thing, that was 100xing our success at that point. So, but we threw it on there,
and then we sent it off to our manager Stephen and Morgan, and then they came back and they're like, okay, it sounds like Eric's in. We're like, what?
So nonchalantly too. It wasn't like, you guys, it was like, yeah, okay, so Eric's down.
Yeah, we're like, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure that was crazy. I cursed out loud just upon reading the email. So I think that came through because I could be wrong on this. We'll have to ask him when we talk to him on here. But I think they knew somebody in his management, because producers at that level have managers as well, by the way. I think they knew somebody in his manager's organization or something like that, and managed to get in touch through that. And then, and then the conversation was started, and it happened. And we made a record with Eric Ratz.
Yeah, that was wild. It's kind of maybe hard to, for you guys listening, it might be a little hard to kind of imagine the scale for a band at our level to work with Eric. That was pretty crazy. Eric's working with the biggest bands in Canada for sure, but also just in rock really worldwide, really, you know what I mean? And the dude has so many connections as well with CLA, that was a big win. But yeah, so anyway, keep going.
Another example is our agent, or ex-agent, I must admit. we're not touring right now, so we don't have an agency, but we were assigned to Pekin Agency. I'm saying that right? Pekin
Artist Agency, yeah. Some people say Paquin, but I am going to go with Pekin because I think that sounds better.
If you disagree with us, send us hate mail.
Please.
Shout out to Grant, our agent.
Grant is great. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So that it's just another example of the network effect. Our manager did know Grant, right? Actually, I'm not really super clear on how they knew him. I think you know more about that than I did.
Yeah, Grant's just he's one of the most visible booking agents in Canada, I would say. He works with a ton of people, and I'm trying to think now, I don't know if at the time he was working with anyone on Blue Heron's roster. I don't think he was, but they knew him, and he knew Steven really well. They go way back. And that's an interesting thing about the music industry in Canada for sure. I imagine it's the same everywhere. It's so tight knit when you get past a certain level. It's they all just know each other from it. It's like people playing in bands together, and then they spread out and work in the industry. They just they're your homies. They all just work in the industry. It's crazy. So yeah, anyway, Steven has known Grant forever. They're buds. So that was an easy one to get him out to the show.
Yeah, so we were playing Juno Fest in Ottawa.
Our first trip.
Yeah.
As a
Was that 2017 or 2018?
2017, I think it was.
So we went and played Juno Fest, and our manager Steven called up Grant and convinced him to come out to the show to check us out. And again, this like comes back to managers only amplify what you're doing, because if Grant came out and we sucked, it would have not made a difference. Actually, it would have been worse than making a difference. It would have just mean that he would never work with us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, the first impression is going to be really important here. But we worked our asses off.
Timing and preparation is what that is.
Yeah, exactly. And we managed to play okay. And I think was like, yeah, let's do it that night. And then Stephen and Grant met up the next day and talked it out. And then it was like, yeah, that's official.
It's funny. I'm going to backpedal a little bit here. Actually, something that I just thought about. Remember we were talking about Roper getting Rock the Shores, the big festival that was crazy.
Yes.
So we started working with Stephen and Morgan, like we said, whatever. I think it was 2015, but it doesn't matter. Fast forward 6 months, I guess. We played Rock the Shores.
Yeah, that's true.
And that was crazy for us. That was a big crowd. What did they say? Like 8,000 maybe 6,000. I honestly don't know, but it was big. It was a lot of people. It was almost like full circle a little bit for us at that point, right? Like you went from playing in Jesse's band, playing that festival we thought was crazy, to then us doing it. Once we got management, it was like boom.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry, I just thought about that, but let's go back to Grant.
Yeah. I mean, like that was just like, how do you get a booking agent? Oh, you get them to come out to your show. How do you get them to come out to your show? You either get to know them or somebody in your team knows them. That's
the thing. You can't there's no unsolicited emails that you can send to these guys to be like, hey, come to our show.
You can try that, and there's definitely the chance it would work. But I personally work with people I know.
Me too. That's exactly why I would say 99% of labels don't accept unsolicited demos, right?
Totally.
Because they can't, for one, because it would just, there's not enough time in a day to go through that stuff, but also like they want to work with exactly people they know, or it's all like word of mouth, which comes back to networking. It's exactly what it comes back to.
Totally. I mean, this is just like, we're drawing from our own experiences with it, but it really is like, if you have a connection with them, even if it's just like once removed, so like somebody on your team knows them, that could be enough to open the door, and now we've made personal connections with these people as well, which is good for our own personal careers. Like Marcus now is works in management, and then you also are drumming for a band called Current Swell and some other guys as well, which was all through like Current Swell, for example. Current Swell is doing some crazy ass shows and tours. They're on our management team, like, so our management roster. So Band of Rascals was on Blue Heron, and so was Current Swell. So that's how we got to know those guys, and now you're playing with them, which is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then
pretty crazy how that one happened, and that 100% is just, like if we didn't do Band of Rascals, and if I didn't work in management, it would the chances of that happening are so slim, right?
Yeah, like probably impossible. Like it just wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and then it's funny to think that, so they would have been so slim, but then I'm not saying it was guaranteed, but it was like, it made sense to have me play with them.
Yeah, it's like, what about Marcus? Oh yeah, Marcus is a cool guy. Marcus is also good at drums. There we go. Criteria met.
Like he's like got red hair, and he's kind of sucks, but it's fine. We can make it work. Yeah, it worked out. And then Finton. So another guy I play with, Finton. He's killing it. You should check him out on Spotify. Exact same thing. The same Juno Fest in Ottawa is where I met Finton, and you did too. And we became homies there. And fast forward, here we are like a couple years later.
Dude, that's the perfect night to talk about in another episode about what not to do at industry events.
Oh, yeah. And little spoiler, it's not about us. And not about Finton either. Sorry, I realized that probably.
Yeah, totally. Oh, that's hilarious. I mean, there's going to be plenty about me anyways. You're pretty scot-free, but.
I know. I was thinking about that. I was like, I think I did pretty well in all those years of the. I don't even know. Would have been easy to indulge.
You were
so.
much more responsible than the rest of us. But from my own side of things, like I'm now a mixing and mastering engineer primarily, but I also work on like a Netflix documentary. And the Netflix thing is just like this crazy whirlwind that happened just recently. Like in August, I think I got the email, and now I've been to just like a dozen countries. I pretty much up until now with the COVID crisis, unfortunately, I'd go somewhere every 2 weeks and be traveling with a film crew, recording like the best drummers in the world. And that was all because I knew this guy named Eric who thought up this movie idea. Like it was just like, he knew me, I knew him. Do you want to come and be my audio guy? Yes, I do. Why do you think he chose me? It's not because I'm an audio guy, it's because he knows me. I mean, both criteria have to be met, but that's exactly it. Both criteria have to be met. So I don't know. I think that really sums it up and is a pretty thorough history of our band, as well as the importance of networking. So let's talk about like some kind of actionable things you can do to build a network. Number one for me is like, I think about what kind of network you're trying to build. Like, what do you need on your team? You know, because that'll really help you kind of figure out who you like, what holes are missing in your team and what you are actually trying to fill. Like, what's the point of going and trying to meet label people if you don't have recorded music? Like, that's just, you're wasting your time and you're potentially burning bridges. You know, you're wasting their time.
Yeah, well, I think you would be burning bridges for sure. Yeah.
So, you know, you have to do it in the right order. But there's probably something you need, you know, and this could be like, there's managers, there's agents, there's like design people. Like we worked with one of the guys that did a lot of our designs. We worked with him multiple times, you know, and that was really comfortable. You know, it could be anything like that. It doesn't have to be like this big role kind of thing. I think for most bands that are like kind of on one of the lower levels, that like don't have management or stuff like that, the best thing you can do is find your level up band. Like, so for us, it was Jesse Roper. He was that stage ahead of us. So find a local band that's where you want to be and connect with them. You know, that's how you get opening spots for a bigger show and you get more people in front of you, which turn into your own fans. You know, if you want to build an audience, you have to get in front of new people.
How do you connect with that band?
You can go to their shows. You can just also reach out. Like, you guys do have something in common. You probably live in the same place. You probably play the same music. You know, like in our case, we were a rock band. Jesse was a blues band kind of at the time. But that was close enough. You know, it was like bombastic guitar solos and stuff like that going on. And so
that was a good match.
Yeah, we were very compatible, and we were just, you know, our singer, super goofy guy, Roper, the goofiest guy. So like, you know, there was like chemistry. Like we enjoyed hanging out a lot.
Yeah, totally.
But you know what? I got to give a shout out to Dave Bain. He connected us with Roper, if I recall.
The Cobblestone. Yeah.
So Dave Bain was is, I think, a show promoter on Vancouver Island where we started the band. And he was the one that was hosting the show with Jesse Roper, and he asked if we wanted to do it because we were a local band in the town that the show was in. And we'd done some stuff with him. So, I mean, networking even goes back earlier than that, really. But get to know the band that you want to be associated with, and bands level up together. I don't know if like you guys have ever noticed that, like the Seattle grunge thing. It was like a bunch of bands blew up from Seattle.
Yeah, have you guys heard about that?
If you haven't, check it out. It's this crazy thing. But like that happened all over the place. You know, it happened in the UK and LA. Like it's like one band gets big and then all these other bands happen to get big too. It's because an industry emerges there. And it's not like a fluke. These bands know each other and they know the same teams. Like, I'm sure a lot of those bands had worked with the same promoters or same radio promoters or managers and stuff like that. So that's really like the scaled up version of what could be happening in your town on a smaller level.
Yeah, it's easier to come up with another band anyway. Like, it's just, I think it's just easier to make progress in like with someone else. Yep. It kind of sounds weird, I guess, but like that's really what happened with the Jesse thing. Like, we just kind of rode his wave a little bit. I think we were ready to ride it that wave as well, though. But yeah, we kind of just like rode his wave, and it was just networking. We just were like, we got along and we had good chemistry as bands together. And so we would we leveled up with him with Cobblestone Show, which is a small show, then to Upstairs, which became a bigger show.
Yeah, essentially doubled.
And then doubled again with the biggest show that we played at the time with him was a Sugar Night called, which was like 650 cap. But yeah, so doubled every time, right? And we just rode that with him.
Yeah, totally. And then eventually we could play those rooms with our own crowd, because like enough of those people became our fans, and then we built up our own fans with our music, and then we were headlining those shows. Not he wasn't opening for us, but he kept on going, doing his thing too. But we just leveled up that way. And I think an important thing to mention is like, yes, being a good hang and like compatible that way is really important. But we also provided a lot of value to him. Whenever we did a show with Roper or any band that was bigger than us, we hustled so hard to sell tickets.
Yeah.
We made sure we brought a lot of people so that when they saw us play the opening spot, breaking with the lights on in the venue, there was a crap load of people losing
the
their
subs
mind.
off.
like it was like the place was packed by the time we played. Not just like after our set, we wanted to impress them, and we wanted to provide value by packing the place for them, and we're getting his audience, so he should get our audience as well. It wasn't one-sided at all.
Yeah. Also, I think one of the points that you touched on that I really thought was great a few minutes ago was just like finding the holes in your team and only trying to fill those holes when they're actual holes. You know what I mean? Like going for management when you need management.
Yeah.
You don't just want to go for things because you think you need to go for them. Like you need to be ready for them, and they need to make sense to pursue, because if not, you're just wasting your time and other people's.
Other people's.
Yeah, definitely worse other people's. Yeah. But it also sucks to waste your own time, especially because there's just so much to do when you're independent. You don't want to be wasting time doing stuff that you just don't need to do.
Totally. And I think it's maybe hard to know what you need if you don't really understand what these people do on your team as well. So, I mean, like I said, the next episode's going to be all about managers and what they actually do and how that all works. So hopefully that'll illuminate some of those questions for you.
Yeah, I think that'll be, that's a great next step. Yeah. I think that's kind of like how we worked. We networked into needing a manager.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, let's wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, please do click subscribe so you get the automatically updated for the next episode. And for us growing, the most important things you guys can do to help this podcast keep going and help us out is, one, share it with your musician friends and other bands and your own bandmates. And number two, leave us a review on the Apple iTunes podcast app. That is pretty much the only way people can discover new podcasts. So do that. And we'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions for us, please do reach out to us. Again, my name's Malcolm Owenflood, and it's the co-host is Marcus Manhas, and we're probably the only people in the world with our names, so you'll find us.
Yeah, they're pretty unique. Yeah. Although there's a Mark Owenflood.
Yeah. Or if you want, you can email my uncle.
Which is funny because it's a combination of both our names.
Yeah, totally.
Also, as a little aside, our names always get confused. So there you go. It's kind of funny that's...
If you want us to respond to your emails or social media messages, make sure you call us by the correct names.
But yeah,
all other requests will be
thanks so much for listening. Yeah, I really hope that you guys got some value out of this. I know it was us just kind of talking about what we did, but I think it's really important to kind of see the progression of a career, really, right? Like, I think we would learn a lot from that if we could look back or look forward. I guess we would have learned a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I did learn a lot from that. I went to a networking conference just in November for other audio engineers, like solely because of that I was like, okay, if I didn't know these people that I'd met, and like my life just wouldn't be where it is right now. So I'm going to go and put myself in front of other people in the field I want to be like more moving forward through. And like, that's already paid off huge for me. Just this one trip that was solely to network. It's literally a networking event.
Yeah.
So
literally call it a networking
totally.
event.
So okay. Thank you so much. Subscribe, share, review. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.